Katie.
Hi, I'm Camilla.
And welcome to You're Gonna Be Fine, the self-development podcast with a chatty twist.
Please know that we are not professionals, just regular girls sharing from our own journeys to hopefully educate, motivate and inspire you on yours.
So if you're dealing with something serious, please speak to a professional because at the end of the day, they are the experts, not us.
If you are enjoying the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe and share with someone who you think would enjoy it.
It helps us more than you know to reach more gorgeous people just like you.
With that being said, enjoy the episode and remember, whatever it is,
You're gonna be fine.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of You're Gonna Be Fine. Today is a very exciting episode milestone. It's episode number 33, which sounds really random now that I've thought about it.
I was literally just about to say not a milestone at all. Literally just a number.
But we didn't
we'll
say when it was number 30, so I feel like we need to address the fact that we've surpassed 30 episodes, 30 plus 3, 33. So I feel like a bingo caller. Number 33, unlucky for some. But it's a very exciting episode today, nonetheless. It's all about vulnerability, and we've both been discussing vulnerability quite a lot recently because Brené Brown's been getting a lot of airtime. You've been an age-old fan of her for a while, haven't you?
Definitely.
And I'm like a recent Brené fan. I've listened to loads of her content. And I've just been lapping it up. But first and foremost, let's get into the oh fucks of the week. This is what I wanted to tell you in the toilet. We forgot the knickers. We need to discuss the knickers.
We need to discuss the knickers.
The
Calvin, do you
thong.
remember the knickers?
We said we were going to discuss it. This is a bonus, oh fuck. Calvin, oh my God. Have you got the message up as well? Because I feel like we need the thread. Yeah, so funny. So basically, guys, when we were last in the studio, don't know whether you know, but little insight into the pod, we actually do get change in between episodes. And there's like a little changing room section here in the podcast studio. Anywho, we were getting change. And as we were leaving, I think it was, I actually spotted, it was like this white thong on the floor, and it was just on the floor in the middle of like the hair and beauty place, and like it and I was just like to Katie, I was like is that your thong in the middle of the floor? I was like, move it, you dirty cow, basically. And I was like, what the hell? She was like, it's not mine. And I was thinking, it defo is. No, I wasn't thinking that.
I was thinking it's defo yours, and you're trying to gaslight me to make it seem like it's my knickers, and it's absolutely not.
Yeah, but it was in the middle of the floor, and I can't remember when we'd seen it, but anyway, it wasn't either of ours, but I just like kicked it under the chair, didn't I? Or like both of us did, because we were like, well, it's a bit weird that it's in the middle of the floor, but it's neither of ours.
And we didn't really want to pick it up.
No,
because we knew it wasn't either of ours. So we just kind of kicked it.
Yeah, just kicked it under
and
the
it went
chair,
under the chair, yeah.
which we thought, oh, that's like, that problem's like dispelled now. Like, you know, whatever.
It's not our problem.
Not our issue.
It was
not
never our
thong.
problem.
Yeah, exactly. You sound a bit defensive. I think it's your thong.
She does protest too much.
We don't, it's not our thong, so it's not our problem. Yeah. Anyway, we leave, and we were doing like a little social catch up after, and we're together, and then we get this message in the podcast group chat.
So it goes, yo, one of you may have left an item of clothing behind. Separate text. I don't know why I'm dancing around this. I think it's a thong. Calvin, you know it's a thong.
Yeah.
You don't think it's a thong.
You've seen a thong before, my friend. You have seen one of those.
So I put, we saw it and had the discussion of whose it is before, but it's not either of ours. Camilla enters the chat, capital letters. Like 2 lines. And I put, I can hear this in Calvin's voice. Hi, is this Calvin? And then they put, I cannot tell you how much I've just laughed at this. Well, we'll dispose of them then, shall we? Yes, this was Calvin. And then Cordelia, bless her.
Yeah, bless her.
Wrote in, I drew the short straw of disposing the thong, by the way. Brackets, Cordelia. Because it's a group chat, so it just says Liverpool Podcast Studio. We don't know who's actually writing, so we needed that reference.
Yeah, Cordelia.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not doing it.
Did you really? I'm not doing it. So she really did draw the short straw.
And then we saw Cordelia at the door, didn't we? Because we came back to actually get the gift bag that you left here.
You came back for your
Cordelia Amelia was like, hello. Like, I drew the short straw.
Yeah.
As if she'd like been to war.
I know,
Like, she was literally so like hurt by the situation.
Stoic about it. We were like, well done, sweetie, but it's still not our problem.
Well, imagine if it was Cordelia's the whole time.
Yeah.
That would
But
be a
the
plot
thing
twist.
is, I would love to know, like, who has literally just left the thong on the floor? Obviously an accident as they're like moving from.
Yeah.
But there's, just for context, we're not the only people that shoot here. So there's probably like
Can
someone
I just
before.
say though, my suspect, and this is turning into like a murder mystery, but my suspect is you because you don't wear knickers.
What?
So maybe you've taken them off for an outfit change. Like, have you got knickers on right now?
No.
Exactly.
No. No, but honey, you know when a thong is yours.
No, it's definitely
Number
not yours. It was
one-
gross.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
gross.
it was gross. It
And
was
also,
gross.
it was
Yeah,
like
it
not a
wasn't-
clean thong,
No,
can we just
don't
say?
even go there.
Sorry, but it wasn't a clean thong.
No, it was vile.
It was not mine, trust me.
No, it definitely
I like
wasn't.
I only
I'm just
wear
teasing.
Primark.
Yeah.
Primark. I
Well,
don't know why I said
speaking
it
of
like
knickers, actually, by the way, we were getting changed
yeah.
before.
that. Oh, yeah.
And Camilla was like, look at my knickers. Literally, I was like, has Norris attacked them?
nibbling
They
them.
look like they've been through
I know,
the war.
times are really tough, guys.
Literally, they're hanging on by a
Thread, but they're really comfy.
They're the Primark invisible ones though,
Yeah.
with the wide band, because I have those ones as well,
Yeah.
in white and black. And that's how I knew that thong wasn't mine.
That's how
because
I knew it wasn't
the
mine
Primark
as
one.
well, because
Yeah.
it wasn't a Primark one.
Yeah,
so.
a Primark special.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the one that we wanted to mention. But what was your separate one?
So my oh fuck of the week is that me and James have joined a new gym.
Yes.
And it's gorgeous, like a health spa-y vibe as well. So they've got a sauna, steam room, etc. And we went to the gym and then we went to do sauna, steam and everything. And I forgot my cleanser. So I thought, I'll just have to risk it. I think my mascara is waterproof, so it'll be fine.
Oh.
So I go into the sauna and I'm like looking at James. I'm like, is my mascara okay? And he was like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. I was like, okay. And then I rubbed my eye. I had like a bit of black on my hand. And I was like, So I kind of thought, I've got a choice here. I either fully commit and try and pick it off and like rub it off with the steam and get rid of it, or I leave it. So I thought about it for a minute and then I said it to myself, I was like, just get it off. So I was rubbing it and rubbing it and rubbing it. I look at James and he was like, ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
He said, it looks tribal. He was like, somehow you've got like it on your cheek, on your chin. There's just like mascara everywhere. So then I was like rubbing it. He gets involved. He's rubbing it all off. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, all clear.
Yeah.
You're all good. I was like, okay, great. I said, I'm just going to go in the pool for a minute. And he was like, great, I'll leave you to it. I'll meet you in the reception area downstairs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, he wouldn't have let me go out looking like God knows what. So I just trusted him. I'm swimming in the pool. I'm going, and I'm getting these funny looks, like people like looking at me. And I was like, oh God, I'm feeling a bit self-conscious now. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in. I have one glance in the mirror. No mascara at all. But I am the colour of your top. I am so red. So the whole time I'm thinking people are looking at me because I've got mascara all over my face. Not a shred of mascara. I am in fact the colour of a tomato because I spent so long in the sauna trying to get it off. My skin had just gone bright red. Like honestly, I look like your outfit. If you're listening right now and you're not watching on YouTube, please watch on YouTube just for the reference of Camilla's clothing right now.
Yeah.
Because I was bright red. And so people were looking at me funnily, but actually, to be fair to James, he'd actually done me a
he'd done his
solid.
job. But
And
he could have said like,
you're
honey,
bright red, love.
Still probably best to stay indoors away from people.
Because I'm so pale as well. I do just go so
Yeah. That is really funny
so
though.
I was mortified. It was really embarrassing actually.
That is funny.
Yeah.
I love the fact that like I can picture as well the mascara everywhere. Like because I think I've seen you before and I've been like, honey, like Lauren's the same when she takes her makeup off because she uses like this cleansing balm. It goes everywhere. Like it's like something from a horror film. But yeah, that's a good one. I love that.
Go on, what's yours?
So mine, this was like a few weeks ago now. It's not like it's like an oh fuck, that's weird. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I feel like these things only ever happen to me. I think I've told you this one, but I was like, that's just so bizarre. Like what the hell's just gone on? So basically, I am a master of my minutes, as we all know. So I was going into Blackburn Town Centre to go to the mall to run some errands. And I always have my car cleaned at the valet, how do you say it? Valeting
I'm just
place.
laughing that you just said mall. I didn't want to
Mall?
interrupt, but you said,
Yeah.
I'm going to the mall to run some errands in the
it's 'cause
valet.
it's
I was like,
called
whoa,
the
what?
mall.
Where
Yeah,
are we?
Blackburn's trying to put itself on the map, I think. Honey, it's literally a shopping centre, but it is called the mall.
Okay.
So I go run some errands, and I hate when you have your car cleaned inside and out, you have to wait around. So I dropped it off at the valet place to get it cleaned inside and out whilst I shop, whilst I do my errands. Great. I always go to this same place, and the guy knows me, like not well, but we always say hello and share a few words. Anyway, I said to him, oh, like inside and out, the usual, please. And I just said, oh, by the way, I've got loads of stuff in the back of my car, in the boot, to take to the charity shop. So I've got bags of clothes of mine to take to the charity shop. Bear in mind, this is at the mall in Blackburn, and it's like a company. It's not really one of those like down the street. It's like got like logo, all of that, quite official. Yeah. Anyway, really nice guy, but he was like, I can take that for you if you want. And I was like,
home?
I was like, what? I said, to the charity shop. I said, that's a really rubbish job. I said, I don't want to burden you with that. He was like, is it your stuff? Are they your clothes? I said, yeah. He said, I'll have it, or I'll give it to the boys. And I was like, anyway, before you knew it, I said, yes. I was just like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay. Anyway, I just walk away, like having given him the keys, and I was like, what the fuck? Are there just going to be loads of people, like loads of men in Blackburn, like dressed as me, like in my clothes? I was just like, this is such a bizarre thing to happen, and it would only happen to me. Who goes to get the car cleaned and then literally gives them 3 bags of the clothes? I was just like, anywho, bye-bye. I just got like really awkward, and I was just like, no problem. When I came back, the clothes had vanished. They'd been divvied up, given out. I don't know.
When he says the boys, does he mean his children or the staff?
The staff. That's what I mean. He was like, these guys. And I was like, oh, right. But he didn't say like, car boot or anything like that. He didn't give any context. And I was just like, right. I was like, that's very odd behaviour.
Yeah, it's
but also
stalkery, obsessive vibes.
But he's like a
really nice stalker.
Yeah, really nice stalker guy. He's actually really lovely. But I just thought, that's very odd. But also I thought, well, saves me a job. Like, I don't really want to like go to the charity shop. It's a bit of a trek.
Yeah.
And they're very particular about when they accept like things. I've been before, and I've been like, oh, here, and they're like, oh, you have to come back between 2 and 3, and I'm like, what? But I've got good stuff here. So anyway, that was a bit of an oh fuck, that's really weird, and why has that happened to me type thing. Like, I've only come to have my car cleaned, and I've literally like, you've got all my wardrobe. I was just like, oh, right, okay. I was like, if you want, I was like, have them if you want. So I came back, a clean car,
and he was wearing a dress.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he was. I wonder whether like they just opportunists, where
maybe it's resale, maybe he's got a side hustle,
like an entrepreneur. So in that case, I actually really rate like the closed mouths don't get fed. Can I have your clothes? Yep. They were going to the charity shop anyway, so why not? But yeah, very, very weird. So yeah, that's my oh fuck of the week. Bizarre. Vulnerability is the topic of this podcast episode, which is a very buzzword, I think, at the moment because of Brené Brown being so prevalent. I watched her Netflix documentary, which was The Call to Courage. Really good, actually. 2019 it went on there. So it's been on there a good few years. An hour. So everyone's got an hour to listen to it. And I think it just gives you the fundamentals as to what vulnerability is, what it isn't. And all vulnerability is like courage. It's the thing that allows you to be courageous, and it's just a really, really I think vulnerability, it's changed a lot over the years, where when you used to be vulnerable back in the day, it was kind of a show of weakness, whereas now vulnerability is very much seen as a strength. So yeah, I definitely have tried to be more vulnerable over the years, and I think I used to be a lot more closed and a lot more like just the ice queen in all elements of things. But actually being vulnerable, you can't achieve anything these days without being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, telling someone that you love them, telling someone how you really feel, because it leads to change and it leads to good things.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much to be said for vulnerability and connection. If you're not being vulnerable with those around you, every relationship you have will be surface level because you're not getting into the deeper meaning and drive behind things. So Brené Brown, I mean, she is just like the boss babe of vulnerability, isn't she? That is just like her thing.
Yeah, she is.
Completely and utterly. She's just like, knows it all inside and out. And I know she talks about courage, talks about connection. But another thing that I found really interesting about her work is that she talks about vulnerability linking with trust, in that you have to have trust with somebody in order to be vulnerable. And actually, if you are overly vulnerable and too vulnerable too often with people that don't yet deserve your vulnerability, it can actually mean that the sentiment behind your vulnerability is driven out of fear and anxiety. So, when you meet someone and you just like overshare, it's not actually because you trust that person, you feel like you want to be vulnerable with them. It's because you're, for example, socially anxious or you're fearful of silence. And then you end up spilling your deepest, darkest with people that you don't know. And then you can leave feeling, what do we say, emotionally slutty. Yeah. And that's not a safe environment in order to do that. So the first thing to always think about with vulnerability is making sure that you're being vulnerable with the right people. Don't just be vulnerable with any old, Tom, Dick or Harry. You've got to build that trust and connection with people first in order to feel safe enough to be vulnerable with people. Yeah,
it is definitely the gateway to intimacy, because also if you're just showing someone your highlight reel, they know that you're showing them your highlight reel. And like you said about building trust, you're not going to trust someone that's not vulnerable, because even in a work sense these days, I feel like in the corporate sphere, when your boss or an employee actually opens up to you and like tells you a little bit of what's going on maybe in their lives, to give you context, it makes you really see them as human, and therefore like allows you to connect more in that workspace. So I think vulnerability is definitely the underpin of a lot of what we've got to thank, for good relationships, good friendships. And I think Brené Brown is, with her TED Talk, which is obviously one of the top 5 most listened to TED Talks of all time. And it was an accidental TED Talk, wasn't it? She didn't realize it was going to go viral, which also, even putting yourself in a position for a TED Talk to go viral, you're being vulnerable, you're taking risk to an extent. And she says in her Netflix documentary, she says, show me someone who has achieved anything and is remembered by people worldwide that hasn't had to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's so you can't think of anyone. Yeah. You literally can't think of anyone. So, I think it's more prevalent though. Like females are like traditionally seen as more vulnerable and more open to vulnerability. But I think there is a shift where, men talking about being vulnerable, talk about their emotions more, which I think is really good.
Yeah. I think that's because back in the day, like you've just so perfectly said, it was viewed as weakness. And so previously, men probably didn't want to speak about how they were really feeling or being vulnerable because it was viewed as weakness, which is so funny because Brené Brown says the complete opposite. Vulnerability is strength, it's courage, and courage to be yourself, to be vulnerable means to be authentic.
Yes.
And a lot of the time that means putting yourself in a situation where you may be cast out from your friendship group, your social group, your work colleagues, or whatever it may be. But that's, again, why it all links with connection too, because the more vulnerable you are, the more you align with the people that you are supposed to be with and have those strong and meaningful connections. If you're not vulnerable and you find you're being inauthentic, you can often find yourself in situations where you're not with your tribe and you're not with the right people.
And she says actually at the start of her calls Courage, she said that a guy came up to her and he was talking about vulnerability, and he said, vulnerability and courage are at opposite ends of the spectrum, and she says, oh, I can't talk to you, because she's just like, they're the same thing. And she also like gives a little disclaimer, like, if you are going to be vulnerable, you are going to fail. So if you don't want to fail, then vulnerability isn't for you. But that's something that you just need to accept. You've got a book in your hands.
I have got a book in my hands
with some lovely sticky notes, which we love to see.
This is Brené Brown, #1 New York Times bestselling author. We love you, Brené.
We do love you, Brené.
This is Dare to Lead. This is her second book. So she had Daring Greatly first.
Yes.
And then Dare to Lead. And this is, it says brave work, tough conversations, whole hearts. And actually a lot of this book is about the corporate world and like how to have difficult conversations at work if you're a leader, or you are, a member of staff, how to have those difficult conversations. And obviously vulnerability does underpin all of that. And you just mentioned then about in the corporate world and having a boss that isn't vulnerable, it makes you feel they are not honest, which again ties in with the trust and the truth and the connection. Like it's all just a big hot mix of it all, isn't it? But a thing that she talks about in this book, which I really, really love, is you can't have true vulnerability without boundaries. So as I just said, to be so vulnerable with everyone, it will put you in a really dangerous situation where you're not protecting your energy as well. And there is just an excerpt in here where she says, vulnerability without boundaries is not vulnerability. It might be fear or anxiety. We have to think about why we're sharing, and equally important, with whom. What are their roles? What is our role? Is sharing this productive and appropriate? Which I just think is just so true. Like I just really, really love that, because I think sometimes people can think like, oh, I'll just say it all. Especially with social media, sometimes I think there's no boundaries on social media. And I think nowadays people are being more vulnerable and authentic online, which is so important. But sometimes I do find there is no boundary online. What your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I agree. There's more of a people sharing more than they've ever shared before.
Yeah.
And she says on the Netflix documentary, she says, sharing your bikini wax on Instagram isn't vulnerability.
No.
Yeah. So how, where's the line when it comes to vulnerability, I guess?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I did a talk for Mini Cooper at the start of the week. And it's really good to see, actually, because that's a corporation, obviously, that got me to do a talk with some of their, high achievers. And I'm very much someone that I was talking about vulnerability, actually, and they were all really lapping it up. And it was really good that it was provoking conversations within their workforce about vulnerability. And I feel like corporations now are really receptive to what she's kind of putting out there. She does a lot of talks as well with
she does loads of
corporates.
Yeah.
It was funny, actually, because my slides didn't work, which,
I saw that on
did you see? But I actually loved it. It was so funny. But I obviously, in that moment, I was like, oh, I feel a bit vulnerable here because I don't have my slides. But I thought, well, actually, it could lead to a good thing. And actually, the feedback was that I was a lot more, I could go around the tables. I was being more interactive.
Yeah, great.
So it actually was a courageous thing to carry on, because they were like, oh, do you want us to, we can postpone and we can, and I was like, no, I'm doing it. So I had to be vulnerable in order to be courageous.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting, because off the back of that, I feel like I might change the way that I speak.
And it pushed you out of your comfort zone.
Massively, yeah.
Being vulnerable does push you out of your comfort zone. I remember having a really difficult conversation with James, actually, at the start of our relationship. And there's a few things going on, and I had to have a difficult conversation with him. And at the end of the conversation, he said, I really appreciate you being so vulnerable. And I actually hear what you're saying, and I massively respect you for that.
Love that.
And I remember thinking at the time, I was so scared to have this conversation, and I felt really in my stretch zone. I felt vulnerable, but I felt like I was being brave, and had this convo. And actually, I respected myself so much for speaking my truth and being authentic to how I truly felt. And so did he. Like, people are very people respect people a lot who are willing to have difficult conversations.
Yes.
And I think that it's a huge growth zone for people. If you're feeling a bit fearful of having a difficult conversation, you will not regret it. You will regret it more not having it. Like, choose your heart, as we always say.
Yeah, so true. The amount of respect I have for people, if I've done something or they're not happy about something, or like feedback, it's just like, I just always just think, wow, you've chosen the path of like more resistance, but for the greater good.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to choose the path of least resistance, which would be no vulnerability, no difficult conversations, no getting out of your comfort zone, no ever feeling uncomfortable, but no growth. So
no growth, exactly. There's something in this book. Actually, James bought me this book. I've just remembered then when we first started dating. I bet he was thinking, fucking hell, I shouldn't have given her that book.
I know, now she is daring to lead. God damn it. Yeah. Dare to stay in the corner and shut up, love. Dare you.
And it's called The Marble Jar. Have you ever heard of The Marble Jar?
Yeah, I have, actually.
Yeah, so it's all about trust, basically. And she has a conversation with her daughter who had a situation at school around trust. She basically felt as though she didn't trust anyone in her class. And her daughter was quite young at this time. And basically she goes on to tell her daughter about the marble jar. And I'll just read you this excerpt about it. So it says, I told Ellen, we trust the people who have earned marbles over time in our life. Whenever someone supports you or is kind to you or sticks up for you or honors what you share with them as private, you put marbles in the jar. When people are mean or disrespectful or share your secrets, marbles come out of the jar. We look for people who over time put marbles in and in and in until you look up one day and they're holding a full jar. Those are the folks you can tell secrets to. Those are the folks you trust with information that's important to you. And I just love that analogy because that is, in a nutshell, building relationships, building friendships.
Yeah. People
that are friends for 2 minutes and they're like, she's my best friend. I'm like, she physically can't be.
Yeah.
She can't be because you haven't built that connection. And previously on a previous episode, we were talking about love bombing and having, those grand gestures of like, I love you immediately. How can you love somebody after only meeting them once? Love comes over time and trust and putting marbles in the jar.
How full is my jar?
Overflowing, darling. Overflowing.
I
No,
love
truly.
that.
It
Good.
is overflowing, of course.
Good. And that's
Yeah.
good because actually, the more full the marble jar gets, it means that if a marble does come out, it's not the end of the world. Whereas if you have only one or two in there, it's like, ooh,
Last
this
chance.
is a bit touch and go here with the marbles. But
Yeah.
I think that's actually a really good, I've had heard of it and I'm glad that you've reminded me of it because I actually think it's going to be really patronising to Sam. I'm gonna be like, that's a marble out of the jar. No more marbles for you. But yeah, I really, really do love that.
It's a good analogy, isn't it, to
Yeah.
remember? Definitely. So with that being said, I would love for you guys to go away and think about how many marbles are in your loved ones' jars and how you can put more marbles in their jars and do more things for other people. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode and have taken loads of value from it. Please do like, subscribe, comment, share, rate, review, all that good stuff. It helps us more than you know. And we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.